Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jacob Larson, and you're watching Read, Write, and Cite, the channel where I teach you how to read, write, and cite for your college classes. This is an assignment that I'm having some of my high school students do. If this helps you out, this is something you run into, great. Otherwise, yeah, maybe you want to check out a different video. We've got lots of videos on all sorts of things that have to do with reading, writing, and citing for college classes. But in this one, we're talking about how to write a newspaper article. So I was looking for an assignment to help out my media, my graphic design students, and learning kind of how to report and how to gather and to, share news. And I found this page from Scholastic. Now, when we think of Scholastic, we probably think of, kids' books and materials or whatever. But this is actually really, really good, solid information. So what I want my students to do is to write a newspaper article. But there are some basic things that we need to know first about what the structure, kind of the order of a newspaper article, so that you can run and do it with yourself. So, like I said, I'm getting all this information from the Scholastic website. If you want to go see it yourself, you can do that. I've just turned it into something that's a little bit easier for my students to fill out. So that's what this document is right here, and it links back to the original source right there. Okay, so let's talk about what makes up a news article. I'm just going to go to CNN, check out their website, and they're full of news articles. This could be, any sort of website. This could be ESPN. This could be a site I like to go to for tech news. It's Verge. I like to go there. All these sites, they're basically going to use the same sort of structure and format. And that is, you're going to tell a story. You're going to tell a story that gives a bunch of information, but based on kind of the history of how newspapers used to work, they always front-loaded all the important stuff at the very beginning. So you start with the sentence. It's called a lead sentence. Sometimes it's called lead. In fact, in many cases, it's spelled like this, but that's a little confusing. Anyway, if you ever hear someone talking about the lead, they're talking about that first sentence. The first sentence is usually a summary of the entire article. So usually you don't have to go past just that first if you just want the information. Now with social media and the way the world is right now, we're pretty good at looking at headlines and thinking we know everything that an article is about. Okay, so I'm recording this on November 30th, 2020, excuse me. And right now, we're really interested in hopefully getting a vaccine for the coronavirus. This is trying to play. Let's stop that. Okay. And Moderna is a company that's been working on a vaccine for the virus. And so here's an article on CNN's website. It says, Moderna to apply today for FDA authorization for its COVID-19 vaccine. That headline kind of tells you everything you need to know. But if you want more information, then you can actually open up the article and start reading it. The first sentence is the lead. And it's probably going to say something very similar, maybe in a little bit more detail than what the headline said. So let's read it. Pharmaceutical company, that means company that makes drugs and medicine. Moderna intends to apply Monday, which is today, to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, that's FDA, for authorization of its COVID-19 vaccine. So it's a summary. Everything that I read after this should follow this pretty closely. Okay? So you have your lead sentence. This is the first sentence in a news article. It's used to hook your reader right away. What they want is for you to continue reading, but you have an idea what the article is going to be about, even if you didn't read any more. So if you're writing your own article, you're going to start with some sort of summary. Like if you're talking about, what you did over Thanksgiving break. Maybe you went shopping for Black Friday or something like that. You'd write some sort of summary right here. Then you're going to move on to your introduction. Maybe you give some information that whoever's reading this is going to need to know to kind of understand what you're going to be talking about. This is for background information. maybe sometime after that, and you don't have to do all these steps. These are just kinds of the things that you might want to include. Maybe you have some sort of quote. This isn't always the case, but you can see it here on the CNN article. They have a quote pretty early. So let's read. We read the first. Now let's keep going. The company will ask the FDA to review an expanded data set showing the vaccine is 94.1% effective at prevented COVID-19 and 100% effective at preventing severe cases of the disease. That's a really interesting statistic right there. Okay, so then they move in a quote. This is striking, said Dr. Paul Offit, a member of the FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee. These are amazing data. So, like this structure suggests, they do have a quote in their introduction. Then you move on to the heart of the story where you start giving more detail, more information. Let's see if CNN does that. Moderna's chief medical officer said he became emotional when he saw the data Saturday night. And so now we're starting to talk about the process for how they came up with the vaccine. That might be interesting for people. And even the people that worked on the vaccine, their own response to it is, maybe it's something interesting to people. So we have another quote. It was the first time I allowed myself to cry. Dr. Tal Zaks said, "We have a full expectation to change the course of this pandemic." Moderna will become the second company to apply to the FDA for emergency use authorization for a coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer applied on November 20th with data showing similarly high efficacy. The FDA will meet with its advisory committee in December to review Pfizer's and Moderna's applications. The first vaccinations in the United States are expected to take place towards the latter part of December, according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Moderna said it also plans to apply for authorization from the European Medicines Agency on Monday. Okay, so that was their main body. They gave a bunch of information. They gave us a little more facts and figures about what else is going on, and then they're going to have some sort of conclusion. Now, there's no rule for how long a news article needs to be, and this one continues and it keeps going. They still have another big section about the information. They get into the specifics, facts, and figures that Moderna is reporting, and then next steps is kind of their conclusion. So, if you were writing this article, you might introduce, maybe have a quote, kind of explain in more detail, and then kind of summarize things up, and then have some sort of conclusion. If you're writing an article like this, what might be a memorable way to end your story? The end quote is a good way to sum things up. Well, that doesn't always work, and it's not always necessary. If you're quoting more than one person with a different point of view, you can't end with a quote from just one of them. You want to hear from everybody, and then it goes on. Okay, so what I've done, I've taken the Scholastic outline here, and I turned it into a worksheet. So if you're filling this out, you're going to type your lead sentence here. This is just that introduction. As it's the first sentence, just kind of summarizes things. Your introduction may be a good place to put some more information. Maybe you have a quote, you explain a couple things in your body, you wrap things up, and you conclude. Okay? So there's some details here, and if you're filling this out for me, just type in your answer here at the bottom. So if you're one of my students, I hope that this kind of explains really fast what a newspaper article is. And I use this CNN article as an example, but you could just as well go to other sources and find similar things. The topic isn't that important because just about anything can be news, right? We're just trying to learn how to report things and how to do it effectively and in maybe in an interesting way. If you're not one of my students and you're just ran across this website, I hope that this source from Scholastic is helpful for you. I'll put it in the link of this video so you can check it out yourself. And, maybe you can create a similar worksheet or outline to help you write your own news articles, whatever that reason may be. So thanks everyone for watching. Again, I'm Dr. Jacob Larson. This has been Read, Write, and Cite, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.